Hello, 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 beautiful, amazing, wonderful people. Um, my name is Bren the Valk, real name Brynhilde Ravna Underwood, and this topic Tuesday is going to be about my eating disorders. Um, I wanted to talk about this subject after making a comment on Twitter and someone telling me that it needs to be talked a lot more about than it is. So I was like, you know what? It does. So why don't we do that? So yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Um, I do want to put up a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff, okay? I'm going to be talking about my past abuse. I'm going to be talking about eating disorders, obviously. Sexual abuse. I'm going to be talking about depression, self-harm, suicide. Um, you're probably gonna see me cry. I love you. If you cannot watch the full stream, that is totally okay. You take whatever time you need to keep yourself safe and watch out for yourself and your own emotional needs, okay? Um, this stream will be going on my YouTube channel after it's done here. So if you want, you can wait to watch it there, though you can watch it in chunks as you're able to digest. With that being said, get yourself something to drink. This is not actually a Sonic drink, it's just a cup that I stole from my friend who got a drink yesterday. It is full of sugar-free, zero-calorie tea. And it's gonna tie in to the rest of the video. Oh, that's good shit. Oh yeah, trigger warning, I'm gonna cuss a lot. So to start out, what exactly is an eating disorder? So, an eating disorder is a um oh, how do I put this? Okay, so there's two main kinds of eating disorders, psychological and physical. A physical eating disorder is something that you have very little control over, like an issue in your throat. And it's not even really called an eating disorder anymore. We are not going to be talking about those kind. We are going to be talking about psychological eating disorders, in particular binge eating, anorexia nervosa, and bulimia nervosa. And what a eating disorder is, in my opinion, is it is a unhealthy relationship between the individual, their body, and food. Um, so yeah. Oh, where do I even begin with this? Um, Michael, really? I don't even know where my pet treats are right now. Let me go find them and I'll get some pet treats. You know where the pet treats are? Hi, Michael. Maya, you're gonna be needed throughout the rest of the video. Okay, so Maya's a good girl. I love you, Michael. So, um, for me, my eating disorders manifest in a few different ways. And originally, oh, come on, camera, focus. There we go. I've had eating disorder most of my life. And part of that stems from the significant abusive environment that I was born and raised in. Um, I grew up with thinness being very, very, very emphasized in everyone around me. And in addition to that, I didn't have a lot to eat. And because of that, my body started doing a thing where I would not feel physically full no matter how much I ate. So I would literally eat to the point of throwing up because my body just would not tell me to stop because it didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. And this continued well into my adult years. I would just binge and binge and binge. And as I, grew up and I became more aware of my body and my dysphoria became worse and worse and everything kind of became uh it got worse. Basically, I started using food as a way to ignore all of my problems. I would binge eat food and not worry about the consequences or anything like that. I had to be eating. It was a way for me to deal with things. It was a way for me to cope with everything that was going on. And it got very, very unhealthy. I remember I would go to McDonald's and I would grab like 220 pieces, a couple large fries, large soda, down all that with a ton of ranch and ketchup, and then come home, eat two like family size bags of potato chips, couple bowls of ramen. Like I ate a ton every day. Um and it was not good for me. Uh and a large portion of it was my attempt to spite those that I had grown up around. I don't want to get into the sexual abuse that I suffered as a kid, but um, it did affect the way I view myself and my body and my relationship to it. And in part, I feel gross every time I look at myself. I hate seeing myself in the mirror, hate seeing myself naked. I can't see how anyone sees me and thinks anything other than, wow, they are disgusting. Like, even how I look now, I feel like anyone who looks at me is gonna be like, wow, they look gross, they look icky, they look all this other stupid stuff. And me eating was a way to spite others. It's like, oh, you thought I was gross before? Check this out. And it's not good. It's not great. Um, so yeah. The psychology behind a lot of eating disorders is environmental. There are some hereditary influences on eating disorders and their development because you are more prone to develop an eating disorder if certain things are present in your lineage. But a large portion of it is psychological, such as cultural influence to look a certain way, to present a certain way, all this other stuff. And that's one of the reasons that eating disorders are so common amongst trans people of both masculine and feminine persuasion. Um, I don't know a lot of MBs, so I don't know how prevalent eating disorders is amongst them, but I would not be surprised. Nor for agender individuals would I be surprised. Like, I just want to be skinny. I want to be a skinny hot girl who people look at and they're like, damn, she looks fucking fine. Like, I want people to feel attracted to me and to want me physically and to, like, yeah. And part of me feels absolutely disgusted by it. And so I kind of switch back and forth between part of me is like, God, I really want this, and that's amazing. And then another part of me being like, wow, you really want this. You're a fucking disgusting pervert. One sec, I'm gonna let Maya out. Want out? You want out? Okay. I guess she didn't really want out. Um, so yeah, the psychology behind it is very complex. It has a lot of environmental factors, mostly to do with things like cultural expectations of the individual, as well as the way they interact with people growing up. Um, for me, because I was constantly worried about food, I would hide food in my room and I would stash it all over the place. And I would constantly find ways to sneak myself food and snacks and stuff like that. Um, I remember several instances growing up in which my brother, in particular, as well as several other people that I went to school with, would make comments about my weight and would say things like, "Wow, those are giant fucking man boobs. If they keep getting bigger, we're gonna have to buy you a bra." And it's like, well, yeah, joke's on you. Now I gotta fucking, well, you can't really see it. Ha, I got a fucking bra, bitch. What now? I can't believe I just did that on camera. I feel gross now. Oh, y'all saw my fat rolls and I want to go cry. Anyway, there were a lot of comments about my weight growing up, and there was never any positive reinforcement. Like, if I slowed down or said, like, oh, I'm not really hungry, people would make comments of, like, oh, well, that's a first. Or, like, oh, but I made so much, now what are we gonna do with all of this? And it's like, But then on top of that, I was like the de facto cleaner of the dinner. So, like, if, everyone got their share, everyone ate, I would always eat last, and I would usually wait to eat until after everyone else was done. And then I would go in there and I would eat everything that's left. And yeah, people mocked me for it, and it hurt. And it just became this constant reinforcing cycle of how I would do things. Because, like, I hated eating in front of people, so I had to wait till everyone was done. But at the same time, if I did that, it got worse and worse. Um, and now that I'm trans, well, I've always been trans. Now that I'm open and I'm transitioning and whatnot, I worry about things. I worry about how I look, about people looking at me and thinking that they can hurt me and stuff like that. I worry about so much, and I just want to be attractive, and I want to look pretty, and I want to be skinny. And I see people around me that give me a lot of gender envy. Um, in particular, there's a few people on Tran that give me a ton of envy. They're so skinny, so pretty, they're so fucking beautiful. Especially, like, my girlfriend. God, I love them. They are just the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. And, like, I do find beauty in their being healthily thin, but if she was to gain a lot of weight, like, as long as it's consensual, she wants to gain that weight and it's not unhealthy, I really don't care. And sometimes thoughts like that makes me wonder, like, should I really be so invested in my own weight if I know that my girlfriend could gain a lot and I wouldn't give a shit? Like, she would still be the most fucking perfect girl in the world to me. Um, but still, I am constantly worried about my weight. Um, the way my eating disorder presents itself is I tend to kind of cycle between either binging or avoiding food as much as possible. Um, I will sometimes go days and only eat the bare minimum that I need to get through the day without really facing any negative consequences. But then there will be other days when I'll just eat an absolute ton. Uh, Sorry. This is really hard to talk about. My brain is racing like a mile a minute. So I'm going to be taking a lot of pauses. Um, so I count every calorie. It sometimes drives people nuts, but that's one of the things I do. I track everything I eat. I keep a list of everything I've eaten every day, all of its calories. I weigh it all out, and I make sure that it stays below a certain threshold. Um, it's not super healthy because there'll be like, my friends will go out to eat and they'll be like, yeah, we're gonna go get something, you should come with us. And I'll be like, not really, I've already eaten like 500 calories today. If we go to like McDonald's or something, like, there isn't really anything I could get there that would be, below that threshold. And it's like, dude, you're missing out with like friend time. Why are you doing this to yourself? And then there will be other times where I go out and I just sit there and I don't eat anything. And I know it makes everyone uncomfortable because, like, you got this one person who's just not eating and everyone else is, and they keep offering you stuff and you have to keep turning them down, and you just start to feel so bad. Like, I will feel physically ill because people keep offering me food or keep making comments of, like, you really should eat, it's gonna be okay. Here, why don't I just go get you something small? And it's like, no, please, just fucking don't, please. And it hurts. And I know it hurts them too, and that hurts me. I'm gonna cry and ruin my makeup and my mascara. Um, Tracking every calorie the way I do is not healthy. It it leads to a constant sense of anxiety. And whenever I look at food, I don't really think, oh, this is going to be tasty, this is going to be delicious, or I wonder what texture it has, or it's all about, oh, how many calories does it have? What's the nutrients? Is it high in protein or is it high in fat? Does it have sugar? Stuff like that. I've found that one of the best ways to combat this is to create a pattern, because getting into a pattern takes time, but once you're in that pattern, it's hard to break. So every day, whenever I wake up, I eat. I will make myself breakfast. It's usually a couple of El Montre breakfast burritos with a little bit of hot sauce, or it's a little pancake sandwich. Both of them are decently hearty, a lot of protein, surprisingly healthy. Both are under 500 calories, so I don't feel bad about them. And that will usually be all I eat until dinner, except for small snacks here and there, like popcorn, couple crackers. But that at least gets something in my stomach. So that's put me to the point where, like, I no longer go days without eating because I know for a fact I'm going to eat breakfast every day. That is my pattern. If I don't eat breakfast, because it breaks the pattern and it messes with. I am autistic. Not all autistic people are like me, and I don't speak for all autistic people. But because it breaks my pattern, it makes me very upset. So it's something I have to fix. Um, but another thing I do sometimes, and this happens mostly when I am very, very depressed, is I will purge, or I will binge and purge. most of the time what happens is I'm having what I think is a pretty good day, and I actually manage to let up a little bit, and I eat more than what I told myself that I would. Like, oh, the hospital cafeteria is having chicken strips. And it's been a really good day. I've burnt a lot of calories. I've walked 10 plus miles already in my shift. I can afford some chicken strips and a little bit of ketchup. And I eat them. And then I feel disgusting because I count how many calories that is. And it's like, oh, I could have had a few bags of popcorn with this, or, I could have eaten something else that's a lot more filling and a lot less calorie dense. And I get angry and upset and I feel disgusting and fat and just so many other negative emotions. And so I will find excuses to make myself vomit. um, and I do feel physically ill when I do that. Like, I physically feel like I'm sick. And the thing is I've literally gotten to the point where I don't need to stick my finger down my throat or anything to make myself vomit. I can literally do it on command because I'm so used to it. I used to go on daily walks. I would try to avoid eating breakfast, and if I did eat anything, it would usually be a protein shake. Um, and I would go for walks down to the lake near my house. And there was a specific spot at the lake that I really, really liked because it kind of hid me from everyone else. And it put me right next to the water. And I would go to this spot and I would sit there and listen to the water a bit, and then I would make myself throw up into the water. So there was no evidence of what I did, it would just be washed away, and then I would wash my face and I would wash my hands. It got to the point where I was doing this almost every day, sometimes a couple times a day. And this was not a small journey. It's a 3-mile hike out to this lake near my house. And I would hike that every day just so that I could throw up. Um, Sorry. And there come the tears. This is gonna ruin my makeup. Um, so I would make this hike almost every day. And I lost a lot of weight. Whenever I started transition, I weighed almost 320 pounds. Whenever I started trying to get a hold on my weight loss, it was because in a 8-month period, I had gone from 320 to 190 pounds. My body felt bad. My hair felt very stringy, and like I could just do this and pull my hand away and it would just come out with so much hair. Whenever I would take a shower and I would wash my hair, like after I had rinsed myself off and everything, I would get out to dry myself off and I would look down at myself and I would see that I was covered in my hair because it had fallen off just from the force of me washing it and it had clung to my body. My camera is going fuzzy again. So I'm gonna deactivate and then reactivate my camera. There we go. Um, my fingernails were very, very brittle, as was my skin. My skin was very pale. Um, I was fatigued and I had headaches nearly 24/7. Uh, Doing anything took so much energy, and I would rather just sit there and not move, or just sit at my computer and not really do anything. If you watch some of my old Twitch videos, then you can probably see a marked difference between then and now. Just in how much more animated I am, the way I move, everything. Um, so yeah. And the purging wasn't just, it was whenever I felt bad. It, like, I remember there were days when I didn't eat anything and I felt so gross about just eating a couple of crackers because my stomach physically hurt from not having anything in it. And then I felt disgusting about those couple of crackers, so I would throw it back up. And yeah, I didn't have to be anything big, but then there were other days when I was just like, oh, I'm never gonna reach my goal, I'm never gonna do any of this other stuff, I'm never gonna be hot and sexy, so fuck it. Why should I care? Why should I give a shit? And I would just eat everything, entire bags of chips, and I would resort to what I used to do, where I would just binge and binge and binge. And then that made me feel worse. And so I would usually binge and then purge and then feel terrible about purging and so start binging again. And it would cycle. Um, Eating disorders are a type of self harm, I believe. And I have experiences with self harm. If you ever go and look at my OnlyFans, not all the stretch marks on my thighs are actually stretch marks. Um, that got dark. Uh, I remember what it was like to self harm, like the compulsion to do it, the need to do it, almost. Like it felt like I was a can of compressed air, and I was just building up in pressure as something just continued to squish me and squish me and squish me until finally I let myself get a little cut in, and suddenly all that pressure would release and I would feel okay. Well, not really okay, but not, with pressure. And that's kind of how my eating disorder feels. I feel like there's so much pressure and everything. But whenever I wake up in the morning and I get on that scale and I see that it's gone down a pound or two or five from what it was the morning before, I get a huge hit of euphoria. I get a huge boost of energy and courage, and it's like, yes, I got this. I'm finally on my way. And then everything becomes about maintaining that. But I use it to punish myself more often than not. It's like, oh, I didn't do good today. I didn't walk enough. I didn't, accomplish everything. So I don't get to eat, or I did bad today, so I'm gonna purge as a way to punish myself. And just like cutting, I conceptualize my cutting as my way of punishing my body for not being feminine enough. I view my eating disorders as my way of punishing myself for not being attractive in my eyes, because I do not feel attractive. I feel very ugly and very fat and very disgusting. My dysphoria is constantly on me. People can tell me I look good, I can feel confident, I can feel great. And then I see a picture of myself, or I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror or something, and I just see myself and I want to cry and I want to break the mirror. And I've taken one selfie in my entire life willingly that I thought I looked good in. I have never taken a picture before where I thought I looked good. Well, wrong. There was one picture I took where I thought I looked good, but that's because of the people I was around. I think they helped me look good. Um, but other than that, every other selfie I've taken, both willingly and unwillingly, I've looked pretty bad in. Um, I don't take a lot of pictures. I don't take a lot of selfies because I can't stand seeing myself in my camera. And it spirals. So if you're watching this right now and you have eating disorders, I want you to know that it does get better. But as someone who gets it, as someone who still struggles with their eating disorder, I get it. And you're going to be okay. But you have to recognize the spiral. I conceptualize a lot of depression as being this kind of spiral that goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground. And it's so easy to just go down that spiral, but as you get deeper, it gets darker and it gets harder and harder to climb back up because climbing back up is going to take more time, more energy because it's all uphill. And it's just not going to be easy. But just like going down the spiral was easy the first time, getting back out, it becomes easier. It's something you have to acclimate to. The more you let yourself go down the spiral, the easier it is to let yourself go down. But the more you choose to say, fuck that shit, I am not going down this spiral today. I am going to stand my ground here and I'm going to work my way back up and back out of the spiral. The easier it gets. You get used to it. Your muscles get used to it. Your legs get used to walking up that hill. The first step towards getting out of that spiral is admitting that there is an issue and being honest with yourself. If you're not seeing a therapist, then please do so. I will be doing my best to start seeing a therapist next month, as long as I can afford it. And I have discovered some other methods that help me with my eating disorder. I still count calories and count everything I eat, but I'm significantly more liberal because not only do I have a higher limit for myself, but I have a lower limit. So there's a minimum I have to eat each day. My higher limit is set based on a combination of what allows me to healthily lose weight and what keeps me under. Like, there's a threshold where if I go over it, I know I'm going to feel disgusting with how much I've eaten today. So that's the upper limit. As long as I don't cross that threshold, I'm fine. And then there's a lower limit. And that lower limit is the minimum I would want my girlfriend to eat. It's the minimum. If she was in front of me and she could not make her own food and could not control when she ate, that is the minimum I would make her eat to ensure that they are able to survive healthily and without problems. I also have a minimum amount of water I drink every day. I drink the equivalent of 1/2 gallon of water every day. And if I do so, then I give myself some treat. Usually it's more popcorn. I like popcorn. Um, there are also various healthy snacks that I eat to make sure that I eat and I eat healthily and I'm able to justify it, but they're also not super calorie rich or calorie deficit. Um, in particular, my favorites are carrots and broccoli with this really healthy ranch that I found that's made out of yogurt. I also have a sobriety tracker, and it has a little journal thing. And every day at about 9:30ish to 10 o'clock, it will check in with me and ask me if I stayed sober today. And I'll get to tell it how I felt throughout the day. I'll get to write in my little journal, like, what happened that day, how did it affect my eating disorders. And I will review it sometimes. And I found that doing so has helped tremendously because I get to recognize my triggers. Like, for instance, yesterday morning, I woke up to a PTSD dream of mine. Um, I have these really bad night terrors from time to time. They're significantly less intense now that I've started transitioning, and they are less frequent, but they still happen. So I woke up yesterday kind of crying and really upset and everything. Uh, and I went and I woke up Abby, my other partner, and I told him a little bit about it, and I cried with him a bit. And we went to go get McDonald's because I was like, why the fuck not? You know, today's gonna start off like this. I'm gonna go have McDonald's breakfast. I'm gonna splurge on myself a little bit. And we got to McDonald's and we found out that we were too late for breakfast because ours doesn't do the 24-hour breakfast. And Abby kind of wanted to eat lunch there. And, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if he did. But he was kind of like, oh, well, I could go ahead and go for lunch. Do you want to eat lunch here? But I took a second to think because, like, part of my brain was like, yeah, today's already started off like this. Go ahead and just grab yourself a fucking large something or other with large fries, large soda. Just go ahead and do it. But I knew if I did, I would binge and I would spend the rest of the day in one of two moods. Either I would spend the day absolutely disgusted with myself, or I would spend the day purging. I would either feel disgusted with myself and refuse to eat anything, or I would feel disgusted with myself and eating everything I can and then making myself throw it back up. And so I said no. I took that into consideration and I didn't let myself go down one of those. But I wasn't going to let myself not take care of myself. So whenever we got home, I had some breakfast burritos. And then whenever I went out later, I had a doctor's appointment to get my blood drawn. And I know how it affects me. And I also hadn't eaten anything. So made a stop by Sonic and I got myself a diet soda as a treat for going out, interacting with the world, not letting my anxiety take over everything. But I also decided, you know what? I've only eaten 500 calories today. And I'm about to get my blood drawn. And then after that, I'm going to go shopping, which is going to be a lot of walking and a lot more anxiety. I need to eat something. And so I got myself a medium order of cheddar peppers. And part of me wanted to feel disgusted by it, but I said no, because for dinner, I'm eating healthily. I am having roasted chicken and roasted potatoes. No oil, nothing like that. Just heat it till it's cooked, add on seasonings, maybe eat with a little bit of ketchup. Nice, fairly healthy, not a ton of calories. I'm good, I'm fine. And so I ate that. And I weighed myself this morning and I'm down 1 pound from yesterday. Everything basically revolves around my weight and it hurts. And these eating disorders hurt your body. I talked a little bit about like the other physical effects, but one of the effects that a lot of people don't talk about is actually your teeth. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but my teeth are very yellow, and that's from the binging and purging. If we ever meet in person and you see the teeth, you can probably see little pits in them. That's where the acid has eaten into my enamel, and it's caused what looks like little pits or grooves in my teeth. It's a lot worse on this side because I tend to hold my head at an angle because of weird things. And yeah, and the thing is it's now put me in a situation where there are some things that I can't really do without thinking about my eating disorders. It's kind of like self-harm scars. How you can almost forget about them and forget everything that happened. But then someone points one out to you or asks about it, or you just happen to see it while you're doing something, and then suddenly you think about what led to that scar, and you just get so depressed and so sad and everything. Whenever I eat really cold things or eat anything that has a lot of sugar in it, it hurts my teeth. This is because the acid has eaten through the enamel and has started to eat into the core of my teeth. Once I'm more financially stable, I intend to start seeing a dentist for it. And I am terrified of that because all these years I've been afraid of going to see a dentist because I've been afraid of them seeing my teeth and saying, oh, you have an eating disorder, and then being judged for that. Especially now that I'm trans, I don't want them to be like, oh, another fucking trans girl with an eating disorder. All of you are like this. This is why I don't want my kids to be trans. It's like, can we not? Can you just stop, please? And I'm terrified. But I need to take care of my teeth. And it kind of sucks because, like, my friends can go out and, like, get ice cream or shakes or something like that, and I'll go too. And if I get something, like, I can be having a great day, wonderful day. It's like, hell yeah, I'll take one of those freaking Oreo blasts. Give me one. And I'll be like, yeah, I love this so much. And I go and I put a bit in my mouth, and suddenly it's just pain. And I'm suddenly hit with just like, oh, that's right. You have a fucking eating disorder, and you fucked up your body. And then my brain switches to, yeah, well, this is what you get. You shouldn't be eating that ice cream anyway, you idiot. What the fuck do you think you're doing? And just all these other depressive thoughts, so my day can just go from a wonderful, amazing fucking day to just absolutely ruined with a single bite of ice cream. And it sucks. If you have an eating disorder, you are not alone. There is help out there, and you can learn to manage it. And on top of that, you can get past it. It takes therapy, it takes work, and it takes time. But just like my girlfriend is worth the effort, I know I'm worth that effort too. And I'm going to put that effort into myself because I know that's the same effort I would put into her if she ever got sick or developed an eating disorder. Eating disorders can lead you to die. my family has a history of heart disease. And what really kind of made me stop and think that I really need to change something was one day I was going for a walk down to the lake and I realized just how much my chest hurt going uphill. And I was like, this shouldn't be the case. I've lost so much weight and all this other stuff. And back whenever I was binging all the time, like, yeah, my chest would still feel tight, but I could do this. But it's like now my chest hurts. And it's like, I work in medical. I have for years. I know the signs of a heart attack. I don't know if I had a small heart attack or, you know, a aortic arrhythmia, anything like that, but I know that it kind of put it in perspective for me because I thought that, about the idea of me dying there, dying on the road, literally walking to the lake so that I could throw up again, killed by my own fucking eating disorder. And I knew something had to change. Because, like, I actually like my girlfriend. I love her. I want to spend my life with her. I like Tran. I like getting to help people. I like getting to be there for these kids on Tran and to meet and interact with other people and be a role model. I actually like my body to some extent now. I mean, I got fucking tits now. That's fucking great. Way more than I ever had in the past. And it, something clicked. And I knew I had to do something about it. And besides, how can I be a role model for all the kids on Tran if I'm, like, doing all of this stupid shit, you know? What if one of them had an eating disorder? Or what if one of them saw me and developed one? I don't want that. Not at all. I love you. Thank you for coming to this topic Tuesday. Um, please feel free to subscribe to my Twitch channel. I do hope to start streaming more on it soon. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Liking, commenting, and subscribing always helps, as does clicking that little bell below the doodly doo. Um, and if you haven't today, please take your time to eat and drink. Because you're worth it. And you deserve to love yourself. And you shouldn't have to worry about some of the stuff that you do. None of us should, and we all deserve better. But I promise you that you are a lot stronger than you think you are. And you're gonna be okay. I love you. I think I'm gonna go eat a little bit of ice cream. I just smiled with my teeth out. That's weird.